Central Weekly, a weekly podcast from the Central Podcast Network. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Jon Henninger's in the podcast.
Oh, it's great to be back, Jared. It really is. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm glad you could be here for episode 89 of the Central Weekly. We weren't here, took a little break last week because we chatted with, who did we chat with last week? I'm going blank already.
I got a message from you that said,
no longer
we don't need you for the podcast.
Well, we had
literally what it said.
We had a full podcast, and the pastors came to town, and man, did they bring it last weekend. We had Phoebe Isle, Alicia Smith, and Pacey Reynolds for Family Worship Weekend.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to that episode. It's
they
really
are three fantastic leaders for our family ministries.
Yeah, I think they are, for such a time as this, playing in this. And man, Phoebe and Alicia have been doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
And then you got the new guy on the street.
Yeah.
New guy on the block, probably. The new kid on the block.
Yeah, right.
You got choked up with
Phoebe and Alicia
Pacey.
are probably both
We'll come back to your choke up.
Okay, so Phoebe and Alicia are probably both
9,
near 10 years. Yeah.
I think Phoebe did say 10.
Yeah.
And Alicia came right after that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Phoebe came in, part-time with Maria.
Okay.
And that was when Maria started. It's crazy because I remember we were on a beach in Florida when Maria got that. Maria and I, not you. This wasn't a Florida trip with us, but we were with the Reagans, ironically enough. Oh. And we got the phone call about just what happened here at Central, and we needed a children's pastor. And Maria was like, I could do it, but I got to have a team. And that weekend, Phoebe happened to be there. She just knew, I got to set this team up for success. So,
how about that?
Yeah. Okay, and then you got a little choked up. I told you, wasn't it? With Pacey Reynolds.
With Phoebe, I did get choked up with Pacey.
It is. It's full circle moments. We've been able to see those first circle moments with Alicia and Phoebe, being part of youth groups here at Central. Right. But with Pacey, it's brand new, and it's brand new in your leadership role here.
Right. Just somebody from who is a literal product of the ministry that he now leads, but seeing him come through that ministry, but then to see him have such ministry potential, like it. That you talk to him, you hear his heart, it, and then for him to be here for 2 years in his residency, completing his ministry degree, and then to step into a less than ideal spot, in a moment of need, for him to step in as the high school pastor, it's just a powerful thing, and I'm proud of all three of them.
All three. It's neat, though. I was thinking just with Savannah, too, just that's a power couple for this community and for this church. And because Savannah's heart equally goes out to the people. She's been mentoring kids in middle school for a couple of years now. Yeah. And it's just super cool to see her. She's been bringing kids from school to church for years. So.
She is like she's like a balm for the broken.
Yep.
Salve.
Episode. Oh, there it is. Okay. I wasn't tracking.
Yeah, no, sorry. Carry on. Tracking.
So week number 3 of our family.
3.
That's right. And we're looking at gratitude. Mm-hmm. What was the name of the sermon after Thanksgiving last year?
The Gate of Gratitude.
That's it. Yep. I couldn't remember. I knew it had gratitude in it, but it's super cool. I really like this message. This is bread and butter Jon Henninger.
Is it?
In encouragement, gratitude, that's your thing, my friend. And just being...
Well, thanks, Jared.
Yeah.
And that's encouraging.
Good. I'm glad you're encouraged. And it's funny because we talked about Thanksgiving dinner. I'm anxious to see this because this is our 27th year doing that. Yeah. Shout out to all those people that have volunteered. Maybe they're listening to this. They're going to be... Some of them need to rest up because they're coming in early this week to get ready for that Thanksgiving meal. It's really the epitome of Central at its best outreach-wise. Just again, bringing in, I hope we get a lot more on-site people. COVID kind of did that in for a little bit we just did the deliveries and we just did the drive-through, and it's almost like it gave that scapegoat, like, oh, I can just do that now. It's like, no, we want you to come in. We want to say hi. We want to visit with you. But that just takes a little bit of gumption from people.
Yeah, we got scapegoats and gumption walking around. Yeah, for sure. Because a core part of that whole thing is the community element of it. Yeah. And like you said, it held strong through COVID, but it moved into like a deliveries and pickup only kind of a thing. But really, I think if we could have it our way, it would be 90% here and 10% delivered or whatever. I hope that people make their way to the building and because like we talked about, obviously relationships are a big deal to us and that's a great day to make some.
I think, and big shout out to Steve Reynolds and Mark Rudolphy for their leadership with that.
Yep.
I saw a funny, not a meme, it was a real life meme. It was on my bus route. There's a little like facade of holiday stuff on an old wagon off of 148. If you're going down to Waltonville, you know what I'm talking about.
I went to Waltonville last night.
Yeah. Well, it was nighttime.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's lit up, but they do a little holiday thing over there with some blow ups and all kinds of stuff. Well, they have a blow up of a turkey, and then Santa is on, and he's on, on the ground like he's fallen. And there's a sign that they made, "Not so fast, fat man."
Ouch.
Because Thanksgiving is glossed over.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of my favorite holidays.
Okay, so tell me what you think about this.
It's like Christmas, but no presents.
But it's really good food. So, business idea.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people are coming off of Halloween.
Yeah.
And so
they go from gore to Christmas.
So, like... and there's that Halloween decor. A lot of people have like ghosts and goblins and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So what if, the business idea, what if you could make like some feathers, basically a retrofit for your Halloween, feathers, like some feathers and like the little thing underneath the turkey's chin.
Oh,
right,
okay.
that you could retrofit your Halloween stuff with, and then you could have ghosts and gobblers.
That's good, John.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It is weird because we know our man Hayden Paninsky with Paninsky Lights.
Yeah.
He's doing some great
sponsored by.
He's doing some great stuff with lighting. Why don't they just put lights up in October and then change the lighting with the LEDs from orange to
Dude, I've
whatever
wondered this at the zoo because we go to the zoo.
And
Haven and I go to the zoo a lot.
And
they do
Monday.
like Boo at the Zoo.
Yeah.
And so they decorate it all for Boo at the Zoo, and then they take it all down and put up the Christmas stuff. Why not just buy like the color changing LED stuff and make it Christmas?
Should we get into the lesson, John?
I mean, let's talk about this other stuff. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well, week 3, episode 89, but we're looking at Our Family 3 again. It's funny. The lesson series, the name of the lesson series doesn't really matter.
It really does. I mean, like I said at the beginning, it's really just they were 3 standalone weeks, and they kind of have a family flair. So we decided to group them together under the umbrella of the series title, Our Family.
I like this
3.
that you came up. If people are paying attention to their service notes lately, there's a little line that you gave Colin the other day. And I really, really like it. And we use it in our service notes right at the top. So I'm going to give you a pop quiz on what it says.
I have not a clue.
Oh, you don't?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's the context?
Spend the season at Central where the focus is Jesus and the feel is family.
Yeah.
I just like that. The feel is family. Anyways, okay, so let's talk about, speaking of family, one of the things that I would say is a staple for the Henninger household every single night.
Right.
And this is not cheesy. I don't like that you said that.
You don't like that? It is kind of cheesy.
It is, but that's a good cheesy.
Okay.
It's endearing.
Okay.
Thankful force. So it's funny because you were talking about that and I wasn't tracking.
No, you weren't.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Like 4 thankful? Are we talking gratitude?
Yeah.
4 for 4? I wasn't going. But here's the thing.
And then I said,
every bedtime at the
literally,
Henninger household,
I can think of dozens of hotel rooms, condos, random other locations that your family and my family have been together doing thankful for us.
Yeah. So you get together. The girls' hair is usually wet because they just got out of the bath or the shower. And they're getting in bed, nightgowns, and then we say our prayers, and then you go through these thankful fors.
Yeah, we do thankful fors before prayers.
But because it kind of morphs into it.
It gives you, it kind of leads you to the prayer.
We're going to get into that.
All right.
Where gratitude sets the stage. Okay. But I think that's something that's super good for kids because, again, I've seen this with my 5 that if they don't have a heart of gratitude, they're not great kids.
Well, it's really,
just like us.
It's really easier to have a heart of
it's the default
dissatisfaction in our world today.
And the whole culture that we have on I need to give my opinion in my survey on everything. That doesn't register or involve into a heart of gratitude.
You know, this is a really interesting point that you bring up, Jared, because I don't know. I would love to know how many people, like for every 5 negative reviews, because I don't think like you don't get a product and it's really good and you think, I'm going to go leave a really positive review.
No.
you get a product and it's bad, you think, I'm going to destroy them and leave a negative review.
It's got to be like super good for you to leave a good review.
Right. And so, I mean, that's a great point.
What's the thing like with your wife that you have to say like 100 compliments to go? I need to look that one up.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, when I can't remember what the topic was. I don't know if I ever ended up using it in the sermon, but I had looked into stuff like that, and it was like a 7 to 1, you know, like positive to negative.
That makes sense.
You need, you know, like for every one positive, you need or one negative, you need 7 positives to kind of counteract.
But that doesn't work immediately.
No,
like I've learned that if I say something stupid and I try to say some nice things about my wife in 7 repeated right after sentences, that doesn't work. Again, it just seems disingenuous.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right.
We're talking about,
you're a bad mom. Also, you're really pretty and you have nice eyes.
That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So let's talk about this, because I think one of the big aha moments, and then I hate using that, but I would almost say almost every weekend you give me an aha moment in the lesson. Yeah.
Really?
Like
well,
when you talked
God
about Paul, not his own name, Saul.
Yeah.
Like that was an aha moment.
Yeah.
What was another one? There's been others. I can't think of them right now.
That's fine.
But the one for this weekend was, it doesn't say thankful for all circumstances.
Right.
Thankful in all circumstances.
I think.
Whoo, that's good.
What a common misconception.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, like, how often do you hear people say, like, I don't know how am I supposed to be thankful for this?
And then you get frustrated and you feel like I'm not a good Christian because I can't find the thankfulness in this situation.
No. It's maintain a spirit. God wants us to maintain a spirit of gratitude through all the junk, not have a spirit of gratitude for all the junk. Exactly. And there's a distinct difference.
Yeah. I think it's super cool to see right now, specifically in the creative arts department, there's a lot of health issues going on.
Oh, man.
A lot. And it's not maybe tied directly to a volunteer. It's directly tied to a volunteer's, son or grandson or mom. And it's just really heavy right now.
Yeah.
But I have seen so many testimonies of right here, the spirit of gratitude. Like the one guy I can think of right now, I just didn't know how he would take his diagnosis and his treatment. It's spectacular. Like his texts are always grateful. His texts are always hopeful. And it's not a false humility. Because here's the thing. I've seen people that I've worked with in the past at a certain concierge service. I would label them as NutraSweet. Have I told you about NutraSweet?
Tell me about it.
NutraSweet is what? What is NutraSweet?
It's an artificial sweetener.
Right? We have that sometimes, especially when you say, put a smile on your face at church. I'm like, oh, NutraSweet. Because I'm like, I don't want to inspire fake sweetness, but that's not what you're doing. I know that. But I know in my own personal life, I can sometimes fake it till I make it. And let me get to a point here. I got 2 points.
Right.
1 point, don't be fake. Have a spirit of genuine, because you just need, and in order to do that, you look at your thankfulness, right? And point number 2, I don't even remember what it was. That's the only point.
Okay.
I had a point too, but I can't remember.
So be the white packet.
Be the pure sugar, the pure sweetener, not the, no, because it's bad for you, that artificial sweetener.
Well, this is really panned out well.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I see. But here's the thing. If you have a spirit,
I like your NutraSweet. That's a good.
If you have a spirit of true thankfulness, you don't have to fake it. And the Bible's not telling you to fake it or be thankful for all circumstances.
Right. And I think that there is a it's a small but huge difference. You know what I mean? Like it's a fine line difference. And I think that it's a lot like joy.
Yeah.
I mean, joy is not plastered on smile all the time, fake happy. That's not what joy is. Joy is like a deeply anchored thing, much like what we're talking about here with gratitude.
And that's my prayer, I think, for Central Christian Church, and the future, and when we're growing in different campuses, that people are motivated to become part of God's family by the genuineness of his people. Because I think for so long Christians have given Christ a bad name. Is that what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think my prayer is that just Central Christian Church in particular, because that's the family we're a part of, that's the family we're talking about, can be such a genuine church family that loves you when you need a hug and is with you when you're in the pain, is there when the joys of life. And I think that's what, in Jesus' name, is so attractive to outsiders that maybe don't know who Jesus is, or maybe have a negative taste in their mouth with Christians, that's going to cause them to lean into the Central family.
I pray that we can create, or that God through this place can create a community of first calls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when something great happens, there's somebody within this community that is a first call for me.
Was this with my wife? Yeah, we were talking with my wife, and there was an emergency situation. What was the emergency we were talking about?
I'm not sure.
And she calls your wife first before she called 911.
Oh, yeah, they're right.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? What was that situation?
It was when
Amelia was choking. Or no, Everly was choking.
Something in the
Yeah. And then I don't know why.
And then you talked about when she called you first.
And then she called me
because somebody was breaking in, or she thought somebody was breaking in. Right?
And then it's just funny. It's like, no, call 911 first. But go through your point. I'm sorry.
No. That's my point. I mean, I think like God's design for His church is to be a community of first calls. You know, I mean, like when I'm going through something really hard, I've got somebody that I can call. Who will empathize with me, or who will just listen. I talked to somebody on the phone, somebody in creative arts the other day, who's just going through really hard stuff, and they said, and I said, I've got nothing to say, and they said, but you've let me talk, and I mean, like that's part of it, you know. But I mean, like, and the same is true when great stuff happens, you know. Like we want to celebrate together. We want somebody to smile with us. When we laugh, we look to our side to look at the person who's laughing with it. You know, I mean, like, so that's my hope, is that this is that kind of community.
And I think Central for the long time has been the celebratory church. We've nailed that. We've done that really well. I think we're learning to be more of that nitty gritty church. I'm in it for the good and the bad. So just both. We're just more of a well-rounded, I think, two sides of the same coin that you have to have. But again, it reminds me of Rock Island. I feel like I always have to say Rock Island with a reggae accent.
Rock Island.
Rock Island. But that's just like you said, like we should be, when the world washes hardships ashore, we need to be the villagers that come alongside and build a fire.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me go to this because kind of a little bit back to our point. Praise in spite of our circumstances. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I mean, like praise in spite of our circumstance, and we've talked. I've mentioned this same concept before, but basically, you know, I mean, I think the truest worship is when we're worshiping regardless of what the circumstance is. You know, I mean, like way too often, and I'll use like temperature and volume as an example. You know, like I can't worship in here because it's too loud. I can't worship in here because it's too cold, or I can't worship because I'm going through this, or I can't. I mean. In reality, the greatest worship has very little to do with you or your circumstance, but it has to do with you being willing to worship regardless of what the present circumstance is.
I think our James,
not because of who we are, but because of who he is. That's worship.
I think our James McKenzie, I call him ours because he's ours. He says it best with when it comes to our sin, and a lot of times I think he said this with divorce. That's the time where you need the church the most and you need to dive into praise the most, but we move away from what we need the most in those situations. We need the church, we need praise, we need those circumstances of being in the church, but because of maybe our sin or the situation that we're in, maybe we didn't have anything to do with that, we tend to go the other direction. We don't go in the direction we need to go in. That makes sense?
I feel like I talk to people a decent amount, whether it's in the blue room or my office, but I think as human beings, we just have a natural tendency to when the hard time comes, you rarely stay neutral. You're either going to run to or from. Your faith to God. And so my prayer often is for people who are walking through really difficult stuff, that they would have the faith that God would allow them the big picture wherewithal to run toward him and not away, even in the midst of the really difficult time.
Yeah, I think two examples that you had in the Bible of people with a spirit of gratefulness. You had the men with leprosy. Yep. So we had 10 men.
Pretty popular story when it comes to thankfulness.
But it's just like it is crazy how often. First of all, we've been talking about in all circumstances, we have a spirit of gratitude. But specifically when we have an abundant blessing from the Lord, how often are we in those moments having a spirit of gratitude? It's just crazy. Sometimes we maybe try to thank the wrong things, like, oh, this medicine really worked and kicked in well. well, it's God probably working through that medicine through your prayers. But it's just, you know what I mean? Like sometimes we think the wrong things, or we don't have a heart of thankfulness at all when we need to have that. These guys with the leprosy, they were cured, and only one of them came back.
Yeah, right. And I think that's, I mean, it's not that foreign of a concept, right? I mean, all the time God does stuff on our behalf, and we just kind of, maybe internally we're appreciative, but rarely do we vocalize our gratitude, you know? And I think that in that case with the 10 lepers, only one returns to give praise. One returns to give thanks at the feet of Jesus. And I think that's probably a pretty true ratio to the way we operate on a day-to-day basis now.
And then your last one was the woman with the bleeding.
Well, then I talked about Hezekiah, King Hezekiah, which...
There I go, breezing over the Old Testament again.
Yeah, great. Still relevant.
But why Hezekiah?
You know, it's just really interesting. I mean, just as God does, you know, like that's where I'm reading right now. Like that's my Bible reading. And as I was reading, it just popped out at me the other day. But Hezekiah is a good king. I mean, you know, those Israelite kings tend to up and down. Did what pleased the Lord, did what didn't please the Lord, you know, set up Asherah poles, destroyed that. You know, I mean, like it's just all through the Old Testament. Hezekiah was one that was a good king. He did a lot of stuff that honored God. God did a lot of stuff through him. And as a result, the kingdom, you know, experienced a lot of blessing under Hezekiah's leadership. But there's a time where Hezekiah gets deathly ill and he prays. God answers and heals him, gives him a miraculous sign, but then the scripture reads, Hezekiah did not respond appropriately, but he became proud.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, but, you know, I mean, like Hezekiah Henniger, you know, I mean, like I feel the same way all the time.
Yeah. And I think the woman with the bleeding was a really good example as well. I think that's a New Testament story that just hits with me.
Yeah.
Because it's so much desperation there.
For sure.
There's so much, and then she just knows that if she could just touch the hem of his garment. I mean, there's a lot of theological stuff we can go into in this one. But
right.
Really, her heart is in the right place. She knows where her heart needs to be. And I love, if you've seen The Chosen, you see her and her gratitude afterwards, where she goes and does her cleaning in the lake, and her ritual cleaning afterwards. And it's just, there's so much joy on her face after going through that. But what was the reason you brought her in?
Just because, and I've pointed it out before, but it's just so relevant to this conversation. Just I feel like Jesus, I mean, there's no reason he doesn't have to stop and point her out. You know, I mean, like I think you could interpret that as though, because he says, you know, I felt the healing power go out from me. You know, I mean, that's what he says, and so you could read that in a way where you're like, oh man, well maybe he didn't have enough power for the next one, or you know, like he only has like this certain reserve, and like that depleted his reserve, whatever. But that's just not the case. I mean, he's got unlimited power. So he stops and he calls her out, and it's not to embarrass her, and it's not to force her to tell her story in a way that's going to bring her shame, but it's really to give her an opportunity to share her testimony, to speak her praise, to express gratitude for what just happened in her life.
Because she had to be known in that land because she hasn't been seen probably. She's probably a recluse from the area because she wasn't able to go in the temple. Her family probably disowned her at that point. So for him to say, hey, now look at you, stand up, daughter. And that's the thing that gets me every time in that, when he calls her daughter. Yeah. Because she probably hasn't been called daughter in years.
Right.
And it's just, and again, it shows, here's my prayer, that when God gives us the opportunity to be thankful in a public setting or in a private setting, he gives us the opportunity. May we take it and take it firmly.
And I think that we see in all of these stories that there's a spiritual difference in being grateful inside and expressing your gratitude verbally.
And we didn't even talk about the health benefits that you talked about at the top of the sermon.
Thank you, UCLA Health.
Yeah, thank you, UCLA Health. I used to just watch them for their basketball, but now
I partnered with UCLA Health on this.
This brought to you by UCLA Health and Padinsky Lighting. But it is, and I think it's really cool. I like that you did communion this weekend, John. It's nice to have you there.
Part of it.
Have you, because it is. And here's the cool thing: small aha moment, but Jesus's first words when he talks about what we're doing here.
Yeah,
we're taking the bread and the juice, and what does he say first?
He gives thanks for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's by no accident that we say a prayer before we eat dinner. I know that's like that. Yeah, but it's just it's got to be at the start.
Yeah.
It's got to be at the start of things. And I think if it is, it leads to so many other godly things from that.
Yeah.
From an overflow of gratitude. It's good stuff.
Good job, Jared.
Thank you. So next week, anything else you got? I feel like there's something there.
I think.
No.
I mean, we didn't mention the baptisms. And
we did. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, praise God for that.
32 baptisms. We got a little confused.
On Sunday night.
It was completely my fault, the number thing, because when I counted everybody prior to in the back when they were getting ready, I, for some reason, counted 30. I don't know, maybe I was. But anyways, what a powerful 33 for the weekend.
33 baptisms last weekend.
Who
Lexi Adams was,
yes. There was so different. I mean, you had a six-year-old girl. I don't know how old she was.
7, I think.
Yeah. To like a 7-year-old guy. I didn't know how old he was either, but young and old. Let's get this from just different things. People that have been part of the Central Family for a long time that we know of. Yeah. People that I've never even seen before, but that doesn't mean that much. But I think just such a broad thing. And there was so many little stories that I wish we could like do a pop-up video of like show the baptism, but like do these little prayer things like, hey, this is actually what's going on. Like this is the forgiveness that was shown here. This is the life change. And this is the fiance that's, it's just like so many. And we could do another whole podcast episode just for this.
And if you wonder, I mean, not that this happens necessarily all the time, but it wouldn't have happened without it. I mean, if you wonder, like, is there ever any real spiritual significance to me bringing in a bag of groceries for Central Serve Day or whatever? One of the men who was baptized last Sunday night had come through the line for groceries on Central Serve Day, and we gave him groceries, and on his way through, somebody had given him an invite card, and on the way out, they kind of stopped and rolled down the window, and I just was talking for a second. I said, hey, make sure that you guys know you're invited, you're welcome to come, whatever. He said, no, we'll be here, I promise, we'll come, we'll visit. And then they came, and like, that was probably, a month ago?
Yeah.
And then,
October.
And then he was baptized Sunday night.
Yeah. It's no accident, the relationships and the little things.
Yeah.
Like we do these community things, yes, to meet a need, but that's almost the secondary issue. It's the issue of being able to start a relationship, start a conversation, invite them into a relationship with Jesus.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've talked about, I mean, you and I and our staff, but if we're not connecting those dots, we're just any other social justice organization, and that's not us. You know, I mean, we have a distinct purpose and mission, which is going to all the world and preach the gospel and baptize people in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And like we're fulfilling the Great Commission, and sometimes a bag of groceries is the connecting point, but it's not the end of that conversation.
Yeah. And our prayers all for those 33 for that Sunday, that this church family was there. We got to witness. I love that we prayed for them.
Yeah.
I think there's just such a visual thing. Phoebe was talking about that in one of our staff meetings about just the spiritual and visual representation of people praying there. And like I had a guy I've never seen before in suit and tie right there in the front row. He videoed on his phone the entire service. He's right there. Yeah. And you could see him. He would take his other hand out during the prayer time. He would pray. And it's just there's a significance there and I hope people understood that. We are rallying around these people. Sure. There's too often that somebody makes this decision and they're just off on their own. We'll celebrate it when they make it, and then we just kind of let them be. No, like we're following up with these people. We're praying for these people. Yep. And it's just, and if you are part of that and you're listening out, just congratulations. And I think there's when we're in those powerful moments, we almost think, okay, God only moves in those powerful moments. He's there with you always. Mm-hmm. So when you feel empty, when you feel at a loss, when you don't feel like people are there for you, he is still there. And that's what matters. And that's my prayer, because I always just feel when you hit those mountaintops, when those valleys come, you almost feel deceptive. Was that the word? Almost feel like you had the wool pulled over your eyes, and you're like, oh, God's not like that all the time. No, he's in those, like we went with Elijah. He's not always in those. He's always in the powerful moments and the small moments. Is that what I'm trying? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after a big moment like that, I think again, Trevor talked about that in our staff prayer time, about just knowing that when we're off in those valleys times, that we need to be doing what we can to stay close to the Father. Mm-hmm. So super cool. Yeah. Gosh, there's so many stories. And I was just super glad to witness it and be a part of it, and have my kids witness that. Yeah. I think that was super cool. Yep. And the way we did it with the trough, that was good for you, because you didn't have to stay. I was a little leery, because I knew that you were probably going to do the majority of those baptisms, and then you would have to stay wet in that water, how we were going to do it with the big pool. Right, yeah. But I think it was a God thing that we got the tank out. Big shout out to Brian and Ethan for getting that pump going.
And crystal clear pools.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so super good. Oh, so they donated that pump thing?
They did the pump, but then when it didn't work, they brought over a truckload of hot water.
I didn't know
to get that thing hot.
See, and it was hot, because you could see the steam the whole time.
Yep.
Okay, anything else you got? I'm glad that you brought that up, because we needed to do a recap of Baptism Bonfires. Yeah. Do you think we'll do it again next year?
I don't know why we wouldn't.
Do you think we should do it every celebration, a baptism opportunity? Or just save it for one time a year? I don't know. Just something to think about. Yeah. Because we have those in. I love that we're starting to get a rhythm and flow to the central calendar. Yeah. With groups helps us with that, you know. Because events, we were super events focused. I mean, we still are not focused. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But like that group settings helps us know we're going to have a celebration here. We're going to have a dinner here. Mm-hmm. And again, God's the God of celebrations and joys. Yeah. So I was reading in, if you've read, what's the book?
The Bible?
No, well, yeah, it comes from the Bible. I'll just think about it later. But it was just talking about God loves to party, and we dilute the kind of partying that's actually the good kind of party.
Yeah, sure.
So, anyways, that's it for episode.
Good job.
89. Next week, we're going to start a brand new series called Between the Pines.
That's right.
I said that correctly.
You sure did.
Between the Pines.
Right.
And it's our Christmas series.
It's like Between the Lines. Read Between the Lines.
Yeah. Ooh. See, I didn't know that.
Okay, so the gist of the series is...
I'm going to write this so I have the description. Right. You go.
So a lot of times we'll say read between the lines, and that's like seeing the secondary part of the story, not the obvious stuff. That. And so rather than just call it Between the Lines, it's a Christmas kind of a theme, so we call it Between the Pines. And basically it's looking at some popular Bible stories and looking at the secondary story. Yeah. You know, like what did the shepherds experience? What did Anna feel? Like that kind of stuff.
Ooh, I like that we're talking about Anna. Little known Christmas Bible character, Anna. Next week, though, we're going to have a short week here because we've got Christmas. We're going to film. We're bringing in Trevor, because Trevor's doing next week, right? Am I right on this? Yeah. You're giving me a look like I'm not right.
No, you're right.
And he's looking at Mary, and Mary is confused, and we're going to look at why.
There you go.
I think it's super good. I'm excited. It's Christmas time, baby. We're ready to go. It's funny that you brought up the smells of Thanksgiving. I'm not landing this plane yet. Because right now...
we've almost touched the runway many times.
Right now, it smells like mothball coats, even though the coats are good shape. I don't know, but just the smell, if you get a lot of coats together. Yeah. Right now, that's the atrium smell. Mm-hmm. But next Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to smell so good.
Oh, yeah. This place is about to smell like a crouton.
It does. Or what's your favorite thing on the Thanksgiving dinner table? I'll ask Trevor this.
Here or at my house?
At your house, and then here.
Okay, so...
Pretty traditional here. I'll ask Trevor this next week.
Sarah makes a really good cranberry sauce.
Ooh, really?
That I really like.
I've only been a thing, like my mom would do the cranberry
with
gel.
The can?
And then it would come out of the thing. Still good.
Yeah, right. No, I 100%
she'd slice
know
that baby up.
Yep.
I didn't know that she made that. And then here.
Probably just the straight up turkey.
Yeah.
You?
I'm a fan of stuffing. I'm a real big fan of it. And that's probably the least healthy on the plate. Yeah. Because turkey, you got to do a turkey good or it gets super dry.
Yeah.
Always throw some gravy on it, but it's super good. And it's funny. No, that's all I got. I'm going to land the plane. Okay. 89 is thing. We're actually, and this is the first time I'm bringing this up. I hadn't brought this up yet. we have 3 special guests to this episode. We did a 34-minute episode. We've got more to this episode. That's right. We've got bringing in, basically to keep you guys familiar with who's new at Kid Depot, we've got Katie Newell, Maysie Farley, and Autumn Ziegler that's going to round out this episode. It's going to be a mega episode.
That's awesome.
We talked for a long time.
Wow.
But yet people might have just skipped all this over just to get to the new staff and learn more about them.
I think like the first time that the episode was ending, they probably were like, why is there still 57 minutes left on this thing?
Well, stay in, keep your earbuds on, keep pressing play. You don't have to keep pressing it. Just don't press any buttons. We're going to throw it over to them right now, and then we'll be right back. And we're back with the Central Weekly, episode number 89 of the Central Weekly. The podcast studio is full of ladies and me. So here's what we got. We have in the studio Katie Newell, Maysie Farley, and Autumn Ziegler. Ladies, say hi.
Hello. Yeah.
That's what I'm like. Kid Depot in the studio. So the funny thing is, everybody's new relatively. We'll get into this a little bit more. You were locked out of the creative arts area. I had to let you in. Uh-huh. I think you scared Steve to death.
I did,
so that's on your record now. Steve will always be intimidated by that. But here's the cool thing is, I wanted to bring you guys on. It's neat that we have now Autumn, we have the 3. And I call it the Kid Depot triangle is now complete. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So basically, the reason we're bringing you in, I want to hear your story, because a lot of times, none of you grew up at Central Christian Church.
No.
So this is I like this, because again, the Central Weekly is to tell stories about how God is working in, around, and through the Central family. You are now a part of the Central family because you work within it, but I want to hear your stories about growing up, how, what made you tick. If this was a ministry goal for your life, or, we started out in the elementary world with schools and stuff like that. So we're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
Get to know you guys all within the weekend of gratitude here at church. So it's going to be super cool. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right. So again, we have Katie Newell, Maysie Farley, and Autumn Ziegler. And we're going to start with Katie, because I think, Katie, you started first.
I actually did, yeah.
Between the 3 of you guys, okay? So tell us a little bit about who you are. I'll start, actually. You are the elementary director here at Central Christian Church. So that is our Kid Depot, which is our children's department, and you are the elementary director. So it's kind of how Phoebe and everybody has devised this triangle. You've got you 3 are a part of the elementary side of the triangle. And then, of course, we know on the other side, we've got Amra. And on that side is Amra, then she's full-time, and then you've got her part-time weekend people of Patty Rocket and Fisher Davis. I'm quick on my feet. I really know all these. I did not hit pause to look that up. So here's what we're going to do. So we're talking to the elementary side. Katie Newell, you kind of direct this team, kind of, in a way. So Katie, tell us about who you are. So give us some family details, where you grew up, and maybe even finish that out, how church played a role growing up. And I'll kind of ask questions if you need some help. Perfect. Because that was a lot.
No, that's okay. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Katie Newell. I was actually born and raised in this area, Bonnie, Nason type area. Ooh. Yeah, country out there. Yeah. But yeah, I grew up in a farm family. My dad's also a pastor at Grace Community Church. That's where I grew up.
And your dad's name is?
Jason Newell.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also 2 Jason Newells in this community, but he's the farmer Jason Newell.
Farmer Jason, pastor farmer. Yes. Not funeral home.
Not funeral home
gotcha.
Jason.
Okay, I'm clear now.
But they are cousins, fun fact.
Oh, good.
But yes, so grew up in the area. Church has always been a big part of my life. Very grateful that my parents raised myself and my 2 siblings in that way. Gave my life to the Lord at a young age. And definitely through our lives in all the ways. Our time with the Lord maybe isn't always the strongest through our lives. It goes up and down, ebbs and flows. But I think definitely in college was where my faith really started to kind of take on a feel of its own as well. Just went deeper with the Lord for sure. I went to Murray State University, and I studied.
Did Shay go to Murray State?
No, I did.
You did too?
Maysie Farley right here.
Well, okay, then we'll repeat that. But I thought, where did Shay live?
She went in Kentucky, but it wasn't Murray.
It wasn't Murray State?
No.
Oh, she wasn't a racer?
No.
Right, okay.
She's up.
Katie.
She's up. But yes, went to Murray State University, studied crop and soil science, also called agronomy. So thought I was going to be in the plant science world or natural resources. My dad actually managed the Rend Lake State Fish and Wildlife area growing up.
Did you know that Hayden Paninsky, he has a degree in like geology?
Yeah, I did know that.
Man, that's cool. Okay.
I know. So it's funny the way our degrees are all playing into this. But yeah, I thought that maybe I would go into like natural resources or some kind of farming aspect of things, which I still enjoy for sure. But yeah, the Lord definitely had other plans. I graduated Murray State in the spring of 2022. So I'm only a little over a year out now. But I was involved with a campus ministry called Delight Ministries.
Tell us a little more about that, because I think that's how I first knew of you. Because I think you asked James for some money and he gave it to you. And then when I was putting on the list of what our missionaries that we gave to, I remember your name. So tell us about Delight.
For sure. Delight Ministries.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a college women's ministry. It's on all kinds of campuses across the country, 4-year, 2-year, private, public. But yeah, basically the heart of Delight Ministries is just to foster community, foster vulnerable community, to be specific. Women from any walk of life can come to Delight. We go through Bible studies together, just really sharing what you're going through with one another. Like I said, vulnerability is the heart of Delight and how I really got connected. And then I heard that Delight had these positions open called regional director roles. They hire 12 every year. It's just a 1-year role. And basically, I was placed in Columbus, Ohio for a year to oversee all the chapters in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and basically I just mentored, equipped, oversaw these women on campuses, traveled all over the place in my little Toyota Camry, visited these campuses.
Ohio's a big state.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It was funny. There's also a lot of memes on the internet about Ohio. I don't know if you know.
They're all true.
Yeah, no, very much all true. Put that on the record, no. But I loved it. It was just so cool to be able to just mentor the women on campuses who were leading their chapters, really just basically just share my heart for the Lord and how he was moving everywhere I went. It was just awesome. But I got connected with Central in that way too, because I had to support raise for that role. I had to support raise all the money for my ministry budget, for my salary, all the things. And so I came up to Central and chatted with some of the people on staff about donating, which was awesome, really cool. But that's kind of how I initially got plugged in, I guess, with a lot of the people here. But yeah it was awesome.
How did the job come along? Did you move back? You're done with your 1 year?
Yes. So the job started in August of 2022, like the official school, when the official school year started. And then I finished in May of 2022. Going into the job, when I moved to Columbus, didn't know if I would stay or if I would end up moving back home. And I definitely felt, loved Ohio, loved Columbus, but I felt a lot of peace about moving home, at least for the summer. So didn't have a plan when I came home, but felt like the Lord was calling me to come home for sure.
Okay. So. And the kids are now your
now area. I'm working with
Not
kids.
Soil, kids.
Yeah.
They get dirty.
Yeah.
You like that? That's a good one, right?
It's a good one.
I try. I looked at Autumn because you have a kid. So
yes.
This is the kid's side. Okay.
Now I'm planting seeds in the soil of hearts.
Nice.
Oh, that's
wow.
a good
That's really good.
So I write that down.
That's really good. We'll put that in the notes. So Delight Ministries, and that was really your mind. Did you, when you growing up, I mean, church played a big role, but like, did you see yourself in ministry? I mean, you went the role of, Murray State with the soil. So like, was it just how Delight Ministry played a part in your campus experience that you went in that direction?
Yes, I think so. And like I said, growing up, like faith is just always a big part of my family in general too. Never pictured myself necessarily working in ministry. I always loved to be part of Bible studies on campus with my friends when I came home, but definitely never saw myself leading in that aspect. But when my fall of my senior year in college, it came time to start deciding, am I going to start applying places? Yeah. What am I going to do? I actually applied for the Delight Ministries position like midnight, the day it was due. Oh, wow. I was like typing super fast, just trying to get it in. Cool story too, that I won't go into all the details now, but I didn't see myself going into that role because I knew it would be support raised, moving away from home. Yeah. Very scary for me at the time to think about that.
Like, what, 22?
Yeah, I was
21
at the time. So it just seemed scary to me. Didn't want to do it, but the Lord actually, I had a dream one night about just being at Delight headquarters, surrounded by amazing women just pouring into me, praying over me. And so I felt like that was my sign to apply. So
check that out. What's the website for Delight Ministry?
So I believe it's literally just www.delightministries.com, I think so.
Well, that's good.
Go check it out.
The Twitter, not the Twitter handle, the Instagram handle.
Yeah, you can.
Is what?
You can just find them, probably Delight Ministries. Okay. Yeah.
Because that sounds like an Instagram.
It's also very pink, so you can't miss it. Women's ministry, very pink.
Well, good. And remind me, the church you grew up with?
Grace Community Church.
Grace Community. That's where your dad's at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. It's not very far from Central at all.
And then where'd you go to high school?
Went to high school, Waltonville.
Waltonville. Okay, I see. Yep. I'm still trying to. I mean, I'm relatively new. I mean, I've been down here for 12 years now, but I still haven't got all these feeder schools down. I still don't.
Yeah,
so
Waltonville's
Waltonville,
tiny.
the Spartans.
The Spartans, indeed.
Indeed. And part of FFA. I'm just going on a limb here.
FFA president, actually.
Oh, nice. See, we got a long history of great people on staff that have been presidents, and a long history.
Really?
I mean, I only know of Wyatt Capps as well.
Yes,
he was and he was like state president too. Maybe vice president state.
He was in Mount Vernon though, right?
Yeah, he was in Mount Vernon, and now he's teaching at Odin. He's gonna hit me if I say that wrong.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, there you go. Look at that. Well, that is Katie Newell.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Are you Maysie? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you Maysie?
Follow.
That's the first question. Are you Maysie?
Yeah, Maysie, just for the record.
Tell us about you. Give us some family details. Living, growing up. Did church play a role? We got to talk We Will CG. So, let's go.
So I usually say I grew up adjacent to the church. I wasn't in the church, but I had some family members. My aunt Connie specifically, she would come and get me every weekend and take me to church. And then I did have summer camp. But other than that, I really didn't have any church growing up. My mom wasn't a believer, and so that kind of, I just say adjacent to the church. I was always around, but never quite there. So, I really, at a young age, I fell in love with the church. I had a pretty rough home life, and so that was part of my escape, I guess, and I just felt so loved by the church in a way that I didn't necessarily get at home. And I really clung to that, especially at Camp WeOCG, where I was very fortunate to spend most of my summers, I think 13 years of summers at camp. That's where I got saved. That's where
13 years?
Yeah. From 6 years old. Yeah, I was there a minute.
Okay, let's talk about that 1 second. That Camp WeOCG, 6 years old, they start those kids super young.
Oh yeah.
Like because I'm oil belt, and so I think they have an overnighter, maybe like kindergarten, first grade.
Wow.
But no, you're going a full week at camp.
Oh yeah.
Like preschool. And that's why I was okay. Sorry, side note on that.
Yeah, no, I was ready for it. So I did Camp WeOCG for several years. I got the opportunity to staff out there, and I just really fell in love with teaching children about the gospel and just the Bible and all of that. And my family, I'm one of 8. I am the second oldest.
How did I not know this? 8 kids?
8 kids, yeah. So that's great. Love all my siblings, and I'm gonna need some prompts here. I don't have as much to talk about.
So 8 kids. I'm asked quite like a hard home life. So were all those in the same house at the same time? What was that?
Yes. So there was actually 11 of us growing up. My mom was married to someone who had 3 kids. My mom had 4 kids, including me, from previous marriages. So together that was 7. And then they had triplets. And then another one, ironically named Genesis, being the last.
Wrong one.
Where's Revelation?
But so that was 11. And for most of my childhood, there was 11 of us in the house. And then obviously 3 of them were step siblings, so they came in and out, but they were there a majority of the time. And then whenever I was in high school, my grandma got custody of me and 3 of my siblings. And then my brother and sister's dad got custody of them. So until I was a sophomore in high school, we all lived together, and then kind of split a little bit. But still get to see them a lot. So it's basically like we're living together. But
they're all still in the area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of good.
Yeah.
Now it's really neat to know that your WeWillCG camp really became such a vital part of your faith, but also your family.
Right. Absolutely.
And then you give them back. Maybe so. When did that transition? You're like, okay, now I love doing this, and now I see this as like a future with me.
I started the program. It's like staff and training, so you're not quite staff, but like as soon as I could. So that was 6th grade for me. So then I love like helping out in any way, any odd job. Like, so I was doing dishes and like taking out trash, and I was just so excited to be there and so happy to be a part of it. And then I got older, and probably my freshman year of high school, I started really leading like class. So that was teaching like 20, 40 kids at a time about things, and like that just got a little bit deeper. And so I think at that point I really fell in love with teaching, and I really fell in love with teaching the gospel. But at the time I didn't really think that I had a future in ministry. So went the teacher route, and I'm still getting a degree in elementary education. I did 2 years at Murray, and then I felt that the Lord was just calling me home.
Yeah.
And at first, I was a little hesitant. And I was like, I don't know. I already have things. I just signed a lease for a year. And it was like literally a month after signing my lease. And I was like, oh, man. But everything worked out. I kept calling like the financial aid department and like all these things. I kept expecting someone to say no, like, oh, this won't work, like you'll have to wait until the next term. And every single person I called, they were like, oh, you're just in time, like this is perfect time. The only person who wasn't thrilled was my landlord, but don't worry. The Lord worked that out too. So it was crazy. Like I almost, in like my flesh, I was like waiting for an excuse to be like, oh, not right now, like maybe a couple months from now, but I already have this all figured out. But the Lord just kept like putting it in my heart, like I needed to come back. And so continuously praying and like searching, and then it was like everything fell into place. So
still college, still wrapping up that elementary degree. Do you see that in your future?
I don't know. When I'm not here, I am subbing for Summersville. Go Wildcats.
Consistently subbing.
Yes, consistently subbing. So all the days I'm not here, I'm there. And that has been a great blessing. I think I'm open to whatever the Lord has for me. I think each aspect of what I'm doing right now is teaching me for either way. I mean, subbing is preparing me for what I'm doing here, and what I'm doing here is preparing me for what I'm doing when I sub. So it just kind of worked out.
It's kind of, there's so many young people like you guys that are getting so much good. I mean, I'm not comparing you to the residents, so please don't let that. But at your age, getting such good experience, and for you, Maysie, like maybe you're going to go the career way with elementary education or in the school system. Maybe you're going to stay with the church, but it's kind of neat to be walking both right now,
right?
You know, and getting training, and then whatever the Lord decides. Because I feel like that's you. Yeah. I'm going to go wherever the Lord wants me to go.
Exactly. That's pretty much where I'm at. So
I bet he's using you too in both of those places. You probably see a lot of the same kids here and there at the same time. So
yeah. Don't trust anybody from Summersville. So here's Maysie. I think that's good for you. And then again, I think I said it, but I don't know if I did. 3rd through 5th director.
Yes.
Okay. And then Autumn, you're the K through 2nd director.
Yes. Sir.
Okay. So Maysie, you got anything else?
Nope. That's everything.
Moving on. Autumn Ziegler. Ziegler, is that a last name for around here? Is there a lot of Zieglers around here?
Not around here. A lot of my husband's family is in Harrisburg. There's some in the Fairview Heights area.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the name a lot, but I'd never heard it around in Mount Vernon a lot.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Autumn Ziegler, tell us now about you, family details, living, growing up. How did the church play a role?
Yeah, so I am Southern Illinois born and raised. I am the oldest of 6 kids. My parents...
We got a lot of siblings.
Yeah, yes. Blessing, though. I love being the oldest of all of them. That's where like my love for kiddos started. Was in my own home growing up.
What's your youngest? What's the age of your youngest sibling?
He is... Oh, no. This is terrible.
Give me ballpark.
I was like 16 whenever he was born.
Okay.
So... How old would he be now?
12?
10 years old?
Okay.
11?
Okay. See.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So there's
my husband could tell you.
There's still kids in the household.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's still 3 in the house right now.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah. So my parents were divorced and remarried whenever I was young. So technically, I have one biological brother, and the rest are half siblings. But I've never viewed them that way.
Yeah.
Ever. But I grew up primarily in Marion with my mom. I went to school there in Marion. I did spend a lot of time up here as well whenever I came to visit my dad. And I studied elementary, early childhood, and early childhood special education at Missouri Baptist University in St. Louis.
MoBap.
Yeah, MoBap. Love the BAP.
I had a couple girls from my school. I mean, from my class that went to MoBap. So, but we're not the same age. So never mind. Just a random thing.
Yeah, so it was really important to me to find a place that I was still going to have Christian community, especially if I was moving away from home. Yeah. And I totally found that there.
Good.
MoBap was a huge part of my walk with the Lord. So, but we moved back home. My husband and I moved back home to Southern Illinois in 2020, like right in the thick of COVID. And I taught preschool and Head Start at Hall here in Mount Vernon for a year. And then since then, I've taught kindergarten at Rome Grade School in Dix until just recently.
back up. Andy Hall. What year were you at Andy Hall?
2020, 2021.
I'm trying to think when when our kids were there. They were with Mr. Bob.
Oh yeah, I worked right next door to Mr. Bob.
Yeah. I think because they're 5 now, the twins are, and they were there when they were 3. So it was 2 years ago. So they might have been there when you were there.
Maybe. Let's see. I think they would have been there probably the year after me.
Yeah. Okay.
I only worked there a year. Okay. And then I moved on to kindergarten.
Mr. Bob, he's a good guy.
Yes, he is. He really is.
Shout out to Bob.
Yeah. Yep. So now I live in Woodlawn with my husband. Okay. His name's Braden. Mm-hmm. We're high school sweethearts. We've been married for 5.5 years, and just this summer in June, we welcomed our first baby into the world.
Mm-hmm. So, Jolie.
Yes, you did. Like Jolene, the song, but without the N.
Without the N. And you said Jolie is from what again?
Jolie is a combination of my dad's middle name and my stepdad's middle name.
That's cool.
They're both very influential men in my life. Maybe weird for my mom, I don't know. But yep.
So Braden, he went to Marion too.
Yep.
And then you guys moved to St. Louis for school? Where did he go?
Also Missouri Baptist.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. And then, so growing up in Marion, we attended Cornerstone Church.
Yep.
And actually, Trevor Isle.
Was he there at that time?
He was interning at Cornerstone. Like I was in like junior high.
Crazy.
Yeah, at the time.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we always have to give people from Marion a hard time because we're envious of Marion. The air just smells better. The people are kinder. Yeah.
You get better restaurants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's totally blown up though since I've moved away from Marion. I feel like I used to tell people that I came from a small town but then people would like drive through Marion on their way to vacation in Florida or whatever and they're like, your town isn't actually that small. And I'm like, well, no, not anymore. It's really not. It's really not.
I'm anxious when I get to Carbondale what Carbondale's attitude towards Marion is, because I know what Mount Vernon's is towards. I'm just curious to know that. So I don't know. I think maybe they got a big head because they have the university in Carbondale, so they're like, you can just have the interstate traffic.
Hey, but Marion has all the hotels.
Yeah,
and they have I mean everything. My in-laws they're looking for land in Carbondale, and then they of course they're going to spend the night. It's like they can't really spend the night too many places in Carbondale. You have to go you have to go Carterville. That's true. Yeah. So anyway, sorry. Side note.
On the weekends though, like later high school and like my first year of college, I would attend Central here and there. My grandparents have gone here for like 10 years.
Yeah, so. Who's your grandparents?
Linda and Rick Hale.
See, I never put that together too. Wow, see, this is all all
the connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd come just here and there, and but then whenever we lived in St. Louis, we called Matthias Lot Church in St. Charles home for us. We really found.
Charles.
Oh yeah, it's a really neat area. We really loved it there too. Then whenever we moved back here to Southern Illinois, we attended Whittington Church until just recently. We felt like Central was laid on our hearts, and at that time too, my dad and stepmom they go to Whittington Church, and my dad was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago, and so Whittington was a really it was really important for us all to be together during that time. I feel like so.
Definitely. How's he doing now?
He's cancer free. He just had a scan, his 18-month checkup last Tuesday, and he's still cancer free. So praise God. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's just nothing like the church rally. We're seeing that in a lot of lives of a lot of people right now, and especially I think John talked about earlier in this episode. Just when things get hard, the church is supposed to be there to rally around you and to point you in those directions, and to have gratitude despite the circumstance that you're in. So, you good? Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that all you got on your notes?
Well, I do have more. I'm sorry.
We'll get into that more. So, Autumn Ziegler, K through 2nd director, Maysie Farley, 3rd through 5th director, and Katie Newell, elementary director. I was the one that said, we got to put your faces on the screen last weekend in Family Worship Weekend. Because there's not very many times you have not yet been tapped to do communion. It's coming. But a lot of people just don't know who you are because there's been a lot of, changes over there. So it's just great. I'm just thankful again for you guys to sit down and hear, but also to know what you're doing, because you're pouring your lives into those kids in Kid Depot. And a lot of times the parents, especially in your neck of the woods, they check their kids in and the kids go back there. So you don't get to meet the parents very often. So it's just so good because Kid Depot has just got such good momentum going. And it's like we're getting this fresh wave of staff in there at just like the perfect time. So, okay, let's talk about lessons you've already learned and stories about making relationships matter most. So I know this is new, might be a little bit of a challenge, but give me some ideas, maybe some lessons you've already learned in the thick of it in Kid Depot, maybe some good stories about how volunteers have impacted kids. Go from there. Who wants to go first? We won't start with Katie. We'll just see who goes, or unless Katie wants to go first.
I don't know. I have to think a minute.
We can always pause a podcast, even though I did give them these questions earlier in advance, the whole couple hours. Autumn's ready because she's got it written down.
It's not necessarily as much about like what has happened in Kid Depot. I've actually only been one Sunday back there in Kid Depot so far.
I apologize for asking you that.
No, but already everyone has been so welcoming, and I so appreciate that. I mean, the volunteers even have shown me around too.
Yeah.
And
on your first day, you had staff chapel. What else did you have on your first day? You had a big first day here.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, get introduced to everybody all at once. But go ahead, sorry.
I did. Well, that leads me into my next thing is that staff chapel has just like been confirmation that this is where the Lord is leading me. And it is amazing being in a place like being here behind the scenes and seeing how genuine everyone's hearts are and how everyone really encourages each other and supports each other and walks with one another. That's just been incredible to see. And I'm kind of going to steal a bit of Phoebe's words here.
Oh, good.
Because unfortunately I wasn't able to attend, but during the Baptisms and Bonfires event, Phoebe shared how there were pockets of people that were praying for the individuals that were getting baptized as they were getting baptized. They were praying out loud. Yeah. And so that, like her just telling me that gave me chills. And I'm just so excited to be a part of a community that values relationships and is willing to walk with people in their walk with the Lord.
Yeah.
So
That's a good answer, Autumn. That's really good. And you quoted your boss. That's really good.
Even better.
I just put a lot of check marks on that.
I wish I would have been able to attend, but
yeah, I think, and it's on YouTube, but it's not great audio, great video. I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm not doubting Steve. Don't get me on. But it's just we had a lot of technical stuff, but it's like one of those things. It's just like it's a First Thursday atmosphere, and it's a lot of people have started asking me why don't we do live on First Thursday? It's like you got to be in the room. I mean, you guys have.
Yeah.
Macy's always in the front row.
Oh, yeah.
So what's next? What do you else got? Tell us about areas of ministry, lessons you've learned making relationships matter most.
Okay, I can go. I think one thing that I've learned, and I'll quote John Henninger.
Oh, yeah.
There's 3 check marks on that one.
Yeah. I think I just kind of have like a type A nature of like, I want everything to go this way. And anyone who works with children knows that it never works that way. And so, John, we had been talking about like just how a lesson had gone the week before. And I said, I feel like this week going into it, I wasn't nearly as prepared as I wanted to be, and I felt like things were kind of slipping through the cracks. And then I got the opportunity to walk around and listen to the discussions, and I just had a moment where I was like, they're just really getting it. And John told me, I guess he had listened to a podcast, which is...
He's doing that a lot.
Yeah,
That's weird.
I know. Never a moment of silence.
Yeah.
But no, he had listened to a podcast talking about children's ministry, and it said the craft isn't what matters. And as simple as it sounds, but like the relationships really are what matters. And I think sometimes we get so caught on the small things, and that's ultimately not what is leading them to Christ, and that's not where our focus should be. And so incredibly humbling to know that, but also I just have such great volunteers in 3rd through 5th who really handle everything. The transition, they've handled it so well, and they just do such a great job. And so relying on them to form those relationships with students, and they just do it so phenomenally well. So yeah, I mean, relationships really do matter at every age and in every season of life, especially elementary. I think it's a really important time for kids to know that like you are welcomed here and you are loved here. And so yeah,
super good. I have to pick one thing apart.
Okay.
Because we have a shared history of vacation with the Henningers. Okay? Now, and you've even lived with the Henningers.
I have.
So you mentioned that you're a type A.
Yeah.
And on your scale, when you put John on one side of the type A scale and Sarah Henninger,
on the other?
where do you fall in that scale?
I feel like I feel like I'm probably roughly in the middle.
Okay.
Like, I can appreciate
You're their actual
John's
child.
go with the flow. I know.
The fourth girl.
Yeah.
I can appreciate John's go with the flow nature, but also I very much appreciate Sarah's just on it. Like, nature. She just has everything ready. Like, you just come in and you're like, she used to, like, make all the beds, turn them down. I'd come home ready to go to bed.
The kids are sometimes in the bed while she's making them.
Yeah, she does everything so well. John too. Yeah, just the best
John
people.
too. I like how you threw that.
Yeah, I will.
Good.
I can't hype Sarah up too much.
But here's the thing. I mean, they are made for each other.
Oh,
I mean,
for sure.
that's the thing. God put them together for. I don't like to use the word yin and yang there because that just sounds weird. But really, she is. Yeah, I'm not gonna finish that. But I think. And I come to appreciate how God has put them together for just such a pivotal point for the Central family in particular.
Yeah.
And Sarah is like, it's just crazy because before you guys were around, she was up front all the time when, meaning singing and stuff like that. She's taken more of a backseat role. And it's just neat to see her humbly use the same humble servant attitude that she had on stage when she was singing and leading people in worship that she's doing now as John's right-hand woman and getting so much things that we don't even understand. Because like today I saw her come in and she was helping with a funeral dinner. Like those are the things that I appreciate. And I think a lot of times that's the character of who John and both of the Hinnegers are.
Yeah.
So
I think
cool.
I think playing off of that, just talking about the humility within our leaders here, I think that's something I've also been blown away by. Just Autumn saying, like, since kind of coming into the Central family, seeing like the backside of everything on the staff side, just so cool. Like some of the things I've been learning within the relationships, just there is such a deep love and just history within our staff members here that I'm just starting to learn, just being new here. But even within the volunteers, like the volunteers truly are like the fabric, like they're literally the fabric of what goes on in Kid Depot, and they don't do it for the accolades. They don't do it just to say like, hey, I'm volunteering, helping these kids. Like they just do it because they truly love the children here. As the kids run back, they give the volunteers like the biggest hugs. The volunteers know them by name. The kids know the volunteers' names. Like it just feels like family back there for sure. And we have a lot of faithful volunteers too, who just like all year long, they serve every Sunday, every Sunday of the year, which is just crazy to me that
it really is.
They love it so much.
And it's great. I think I used this term last week when we were talking to Pacey, Phoebe, and Alicia. You guys really are truly shepherds of shepherds because your job, I mean, if you're doing it well, like you said, you might not have done a great job, but the Holy Spirit worked despite what you did in order to spur on these relationships, in order for you guys to get the leaders prepared with all the things that they need in order to foster those relationships so those relationships can point to Jesus. So good stuff. Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to ask the question that we ask all of our guests on Essential Weekly for each of you. How has God been working in your life lately? So the past is over. We're talking the future, or right now. So are you guys ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, we're going to hit pause, and we'll be right back. And we're back to wrap up our conversation with Katie Newell, Maysie Farley, and Autumn Ziegler. I have to look at your name written down every single time. I still have to do it. So, Autumn, you're prepared because you have a piece of paper in front of you.
Sorry.
So, how has God been working in your life lately, Autumn Ziegler?
So, I feel like as a new mom, my life has been totally shifted in the best way possible, but totally shifted. I feel like the Lord is really teaching me to rely on Him rather than myself. And I know that the sin that I struggle with the most is independence on myself. And I'm in a place in my life now where I feel like the Lord is humbling me and I'm learning to allow Him to take full control. I'm also a very anxious person. And so I'm literally casting my worries on Him. And I know that His plans are far greater than any plan that I could have for myself. And my family. Even though some things may not make sense, I'm going to throw in a story here real quick. Growing up, my stepdad led mission trips in Haiti, and he left a very stable, very good job in order to do that. He had a lot of people who did not agree with his decision, and we did not know at the time how the Lord was going to provide. My mom did not work because she had just had a baby, my youngest brother at the time. We had very little, but the Lord always showed up. I mean, He was constantly there. And as a kid, I didn't see it as much as I do now, especially at this stage in my life. I know that if I just step out in faith and I follow where the Lord is leading me, He's going to provide.
Yeah.
So,
and it really, I mean, I'm going to talk for you just for a second. I mean, I know very little about your situation. I knew that you were in and you loved what you were doing with the kiddos in the school, but you felt a call out of it because you wanted to be more in with your baby Jolie.
Yes.
And I think you're taking a pay cut for sure. We know how much they pay around here. But it's neat to see somebody else. You're in a long line of people that have done that. I mean, I could go on and on about how people have sacrificed maybe a career and a position and a salary in order to do what the Lord's calling them to. So when the anxiety raises sometimes, when that comes up, know that you are, again, in a long line of people that have followed through in faith. So that's just my encouragement to all of you.
Well,
I think a lot of times you guys have all seen that, but I think this job is an act of faith. It really is, because it's not paying super well. It's different, especially when you guys are newer at the whole life thing. And when you're a parent, anxiety, you have a true anxiety test, and you, like you said, that independence has to be back on Jesus.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Now more than ever.
Good stuff. Who's going next?
Good. I can go next, just because mine relates in a way that Autumn and I actually talked about this the other day. But I think what the Lord has definitely he's been teaching me this and still working out my life in this right now is definitely just dependence, trust in Him. No, I'm not supposed to talk about the past, but I will a little bit because it ties in. But yeah, just coming home, like I mentioned, when I ended my job with Delight, came home, just felt peace about coming home. Didn't know what I was doing though, where I should go next, what I should apply to. But this summer was really, really hard. I felt really lost at times, just not knowing what the Lord's next step was for me. I actually felt like he gave me this image in a way of just like me and him walking like in a desert together, just like in this wasteland. But he was just holding my hand and leading me. I didn't know where we were going, but we were just walking and going. He wasn't saying anything, but just making our way, which was really hard for me, but just trusting on him in that season. And still, even now, like such an answered prayer that I'm now here at Central. And it's been the best gift ever, really, this year, just being at Central. Yeah, it's been the best. And, but still, even now, he's teaching me dependence in this way of like, okay, Katie, I've given you this next thing. Now just trust me as we walk through this. And I know I just stepped out of a season of ministry, but he's teaching me that this is a new season. And kind of like Eric talked about at Staff Chapel, like I can't take yesterday's oil and bring it into this season. Like I need fresh oil. I need fresh fire for this season. And so, yeah, I can't do it apart from him. And I just have to lean on him in this season as he teaches me what these kids need, what the volunteers need. And what I need to do every day for him. So
that's good. Really good. Maysie Farley, wrap us up.
It's a tough. I shouldn't have gone last. I should have gone first. It's really hard to follow.
Oops.
I think in this season, the Lord's just teaching me that there's strength and vulnerability and transparency. So I think, like I said, I'm a type A person, and I have a tendency to dress things up for everyone, myself, and especially like even in prayer. And I think the Lord is teaching me that like I can pray authentically and I can be honest in my prayer because he knows how I'm feeling anyways. And like the Lord, I think we so often forget that like God gets us and he understands our feelings, and even when they're hard and even when they're ugly. I just have been in a season of like really difficult prayers and I've been so incredibly blessed, which makes it harder. I'm like almost rationalizing it. I'm like, Lord, I know you've blessed me in all these other areas and I've seen your faithfulness, so I know you'll come through in this spot. When really like my heart is broken and like I'm really upset about certain things. And I think I've been incredibly blessed to have mentors and friends who can always point me on the right direction. So I was recently talking about this in a group, and Ashton reminded me of scripture, talking about how praying for someone, like God changed his mind, like that prayer. And I think there's power in vulnerability and there's power in earnestly praying. And so I think that's what I'm learning most recently in this season.
Gosh, so good. On a weekend, we're talking about thankfulness. I'm thankful for that. Maysie, I told you this in Staff Chapel. Seeing your guys' excitement about the Central family and kind of being new and green to it all and just like eyes wide open, it gives me more of appreciation of what I've been through the last 12 years. Wow. And it's just, again, God's doing such a good work and such a powerful part. You guys are such a powerful part of a brand new wave that's just continuing just to lap on. And God is I'm just grateful that he's using this church family to do that. And you guys are making up the church. And it's just, I mean, last week we had 3 people sitting here that are part of the Central, grew up with the Central family. Now we have 3 different people that didn't grow up with the Central family, but are still, I just love it. So thankful for you guys.
Yeah.
Super good. That's it. You're relieved. I won't ask you to do a podcast again. That's it. Anything else you guys got before we go?
Thank you for having us on.
This is fun.
Well, good. We'll do it every week. I'll change my mind. But the drums are going. It's Friday night church is starting, so we got to wrap it up. You guys have jobs to do. So I'll let you go. Thank you, Maysie Farley, Autumn Ziegler, and Katie Newell. That's without the list. That's me. Okay. Thank you, ladies. Have a good one, Jared. And we'll be right back after this. And that's a wrap for episode 89 of the Central Weekly. What a jam-packed episode.
Wow.
I got long-winded, but a special guest, Katie Newell, Maysie Farley, and Autumn Ziegler. Thank you so much for stopping in. It was a good conversation. Get to know some people that are pouring into our kids on a weekly basis. They're just, future's bright, John.
For sure.
Bright, glaringly bright. Oh, it's bright.
So bright.
Yeah, you got to put down the visor. It's so bright. Episode 90 next week. We're going to have a short week, but we're going to have a full episode with Mr. Family Ministries himself, Trevor Isle. We're going to talk about Mary Between the Pines. Make sure to be here for that.
Yes.
Bye now.